this. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble? Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Big Bill coming to you from Johnny's Train Talk Show. Thursday night here. Johnny has taken the night off. He's with us, but he's in the background, and I'm filling in for John because he needs a little break. So we're down here in the general store. I don't know how this old Yankee's going to take being in the southern part of Georgia, in the deep part, but I'm here. And if the weather's any indication up here in New York City, in Staten Island, we are dealing with a cold front. Yeah, I got a temporary visa, John said, for being in the South. So here I am. So let me just get to the Dave, BNSF, N-Scale, semi-retired, semi-driver. Hello, Indian Head Valley Railroad. Hello, Wilma. Dave at BNSF, Scale. Oh, same thing again, 2 times today, Wilma. Dwight of Northern Star. Hello, it's Dwight. Let's see. John Dilly. Hello, John. Dave Hobbies and Things. Hello. Let's see who else is on here. Eric Hall is on here. MRRO. This is good. Dave Piper, hello. You guys out there. And who do we have on the video? We have Tim Wayman is on. He's coming to us live from Troy, Illinois. Is that correct, Troy? Tim? Yeah.
Yep.
He's 20 minutes from St. Louis. Surprised he ain't at the St. Louis game. They're playing the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Cabana Bob. Hey, welcome, Cabana Bob. How are you tonight?
Yeah.
Looking good. And Joe's with us. How are you, Joe?
I'm not too bad. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good. And I said Cabana. Curtis Hunt is with us from the C&L line. Still working on that railroad. How long has it been now? 50 years now?
It seems like a lifetime.
It does.
But you know what? It's been fun all along.
There you go, Curtis. You're putting the F word back in model railroading. Fun, and fun.
Yep.
There you go. And what else? Oh, I got to do this little homework thing. This Tuesday, the Fine Scale Show will take place, even though it was canceled last Tuesday. I heard the emotional groans go up when the announcement came, and I do want to apologize for that, but it's called life. Things get in the way. People couldn't get off. Their schedules getting turned around. And when you got to pay the bills, you got to go to work. So the Fine Scale Show will be on next week with Andy and the crew. And I think they're doing bridges. They're doing a thing on bridges, Fine Scale on bridges. And then on Wednesday, the next night, this is a trifecta next week. So you guys are in for a lot of this model railroading stuff. On Wednesday, the next night, Joe Desmond does his final show of 2019, and then he takes the summer off because he likes to spend time with his family and do fun things. So he's going to be doing a live show, and he's going to have a few guests on his show, and he's basically going to wrap up the entire season, I guess, with the operations thing and field some questions. I do believe his friend Tony Bowen is going to be on with him, and I always enjoy Tony. He's fun. And then on Thursday, we come back with Johnny's Train Talk Show, and Johnny will be back next Thursday. There's 5 Thursdays in the month of May, so we're splitting them up. Me and John, so we're splitting them up. And so Johnny will be back next week, next Thursday. So you got a trifecta there, 3 in a row. And what else now? Oh, and then who's Big Bill talking to? On the following week, on May 22nd, we are going to have Bill Baronic, a.k.a. the track planner, on. We haven't had him on for a while, But recently, the Modeling Journal magazine, is that what it's? I'm not being facetious. I just forgot the name.
I think it's just Modeling Journal.
Modeling Journal magazine came out, and recently, if you haven't subscribed to it, please do. Modeling Journal magazine. They have a picture of a battleship on the front. I'm not going to give it away, the spoiler, but read the article and find out what that battleship is made of. It's not your typical out of the box plastic thing. So go, if you're not a reader of it, go read it, go subscribe to it, and see what it is. But Bill Baronic is going to be on, and it's not going to be anything about operations or layout build. It's going to be about end times when we all, not a question of if we pass away, it's when we pass away and what happens to our layout and what we should do to do it. I thought it was an interesting article, and I think it's something we should explore. So we're going to have Bill Baronic on next Tuesday on the 22nd. And then the following Tuesday, we're going to have Don G from the Almost Historical Railroad. He's a new guy out in Nevada. It's an interesting story, so we're going to put that together. Anyway, and then on June 5th, we're going to have Gary Corbin on. He's starting a new layout. He's getting back into the layout, into model railroading, so he's got an interesting little take on things. So we're going to have that. So that's basically the overall scheme of things and stuff. And also, I want to share this with everybody. My friend Jimmy Malloy, who's from the Bronx, actually just out over the Bronx line into Westchester County. He's gonna come on. He's not a model railroader. In fact, he has no interest whatsoever in doing model railroading. And he sent this. He said, "I think you'd get more use out of this." Oh, that fell off. He said, if you'll see here, what he did was he autographed it for me. This can't run on my layout because it's my radiuses are too small. But anyway, him and his dad took a trip, and I was so happy that he did this, and so glad because he knows. Him and his dad, he FaceTimed me today live from Ogden, Utah. And I got to see the two big boys face to face as they drove in the Golden Spike and a reenactment of it. But he was there and in Ogden, Utah, and he FaceTimed me with the engines, and he was able to photograph and to get as much video as he could on the engine. And I know if you guys have been following the story, you know that UP brought out the big boy, and they sent, it came out of the shop, they refurbished it, and they sent it up to Ogden, Utah for this historical. He read about it, and him and his father went, and his thing was, this is a once in a lifetime thing to see an engine that's been taken out of retirement and put back, basically together and to show. So him and his dad went, and he showed me, and in the FaceTime thing, what I did was I asked him to be our roving reporter for Model Railroading Live. So I assigned him on the spot to conduct some interviews, take a ton of pictures, and when he gets back, he's going to share his experience with us, hopefully. And I hope that's going to be something that we can look forward to, because Jimmy's a very animated New York kind of guy, an Irish, old-style Irish guy from New York. He talks like he's from the Bronx, and so it should be good. But that's it for what we got today. And let's see if I forgot here. And I just want to make sure that everybody is. Justin Johnson, good evening to you, sir. John Dilly saying hello everyone. Dwight of Northern Stars. CSX Railline Productions, hello to you, sir. Eric Hall, you love the Big Bill Show. Who is Big Bill 52 is a great show. You're just saying that because I owe you money, Eric. That's why. So, sounds really good. Retired at BNF. So what has everybody been up to? What, I know this is a Johnny's Train Talk show, and I followed it I follow it every once in a while. I really don't look at it, but I do follow it. So it seems like he gets a lot of Tim, what are you doing?
Well, currently,
Okay, Tim, thank you for that. Thank you. Cabana Bob, what are you up to? All right, you took too long. Joe, sorry, Joe, forget it. Don't even answer it.
Cut to
No, I'm
the
only
road.
kidding.
Weathering
I'm
is
only kidding. Tim, what are you working on?
right now I'm working on a bridge, Walter's 90-foot girder bridge for my layout. I'm going to wind up passing track coming off my lift-up section over my yard, back and loop it back around into the yard.
Nice. Cabana Joe, Cabana Bob, Cabana Joe. That's the other guy. I owe him money.
That's my alter ego.
Yeah, that's the evil twin, right?
Yeah, my evil twin, right? Right.
Yeah. So what have you been up to?
Not much. I'm not doing anything here, but I've been going to Model Railroad Club, which is the Knoxville area Model Railroaders, working with them, doing some scenery with them, doing some switching. They do some easy switching, and they do some certain days there's hard switching. Those are the days they mess up their layout.
That's all right. It's only plastic.
But,
when you mess up the real thing, there's always.
Hey, so that's about all I'm doing. And with the groups, we did luck out that there was a show about last weekend at a farm. Gentleman has his own 1 mile track around his farm, 7.5-inch gauge. It was family oriented. They had free food. Hey, that took me right there. Free food. I'll go.
Hey, my motto is, Bob, if it's free, it's for me.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing was free. They had antique tractors, antique cars.
Nice.
They even had a working steam shop. Guy was trying to do a lathe. And of course, the lathe is going real slow with the steam and the belt. But it was a very intriguing day, and had a great time. And then one of the model railroaders at our group, he had what they call a. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. It's actually just a ball machine. Let's see if I can find the photo of it. The ball machine basically. Here it is. I'm in the middle here. Hang on. I'm losing everything. And let's see. Okay, here we go. Share that. Basically, this is what it looks like. It might be hard to see, but gentleman took a year to build this, and he uses. I can make it larger. Uses bowling balls to run the gambit here. So one of those many things. I just stood there and kind of intrigued watching this stuff. I actually got a video of it. The video is a lot better, but it was a fun day. Got there early, and then when it decided to storm around 2:00, everybody left.
Cool.
Keep me busy and keep me active in the railroading field until something better comes along.
It's nothing better.
So, other than that, just hanging out here.
I want to say hello to Ralph Renzetti. Came into the chat box over here in the Q&A. So I'm going to welcome Ralph.
My mic? Okay.
Is that better?
Big Bill, Ralph wants to know, Bill, what are you doing on the inside? Well, I'm taking over. I'm taking over the world. No, John asked me to come in just to give him a bit of a break. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. He demanded a day off. He says it's in his contract. So that's what I'm doing. Joe, what are you up to, bro?
Oh man, I've been super, super busy.
Have you?
Yes, let's see, touch of the brush, model weathering, the business itself. I've been doing a lot of custom painting and decaling, and not as much weathering in the past couple of months. So the projects have been going steady, slow but steady. So I've been very busy with that. I do have a 10 tank car order that I'm trying to finish for this weekend. The gentleman is a good friend of mine who lives in Nashville, so I want to get those done for him. The layout progress. Let's see. I have a main line that's almost all the track is laid on the first main line along with roadbed. Next is full wiring. So the layout is coming along, and I'm just waiting for some more material. And hopefully, the next month or so, I can actually have both main lines running and starting off on the rail yard itself. And I'm
Cool.
getting off walking pneumonia, so that's part of it. So I've been resting a lot and starting a new job during the week. So I was just trying to work on that little bit of different scheduling compared to the touring act that I've been with.
Yeah, well, you've been very busy with all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Yeah, Eric, you deserve a break today at McDonald's. No, he went to Chick-fil-A. John. He said, he's Andy Crawford. He's herding cats. And
Are you wearing a Mets shirt, Bill?
yes, I am, and it's actually what it says is it hurts to be a Met fan.
Oh, burn! I got so excited.
No, I'm still a Met fan, but
Okay.
they haven't been playing well lately. Anyway,
No, I heard.
what are you gonna do?
Oh well.
So, Curtis, what are you working on the CNL lines?
I am putting down the ground goop, starting to work on scenery. Yeah.
Got some goop on the hand.
Hey, you got to get a little messy while you're doing this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Little goop ain't gonna hurt.
Nope.
I got all the way from the meat packing all the way over to here, and now I'm working on this section, and I'll work all the way around, and once I get done with that, then I will start with my oil loading platforms, get them built. I finally got this done to what I would say is my satisfaction, is the meat packing house. So been working on that. Doing.
Can I see the meat packing house again? I'm sorry, you kind of went a little.
I don't know if you're in focus or not.
No, it's good. Very good. I like that. Looks good.
The only thing I have to do is I'm not using this that came with the kit, the regular smokestack. I'm going to build one, which will go over here. But other than that, it's pretty much done after almost a year.
How long did it? Why did it take a year?
Kit patch, because it's all kit bashed.
Okay.
And I had to wait for parts to come in, figure out how I was going to do something in order to get it to work. It all worked out. It just took time.
Right.
Time and a lot of screaming.
I
Don't
can
we?
I can understand that. I could. Let's see, Ralph. At least he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Andy says Ralph. David BNSFN and Scale semi-retired semi-driver. Sorry, my Brewers stomped your Mets. It's an early season, Dave. Early season. Early season. But thank you anyway for that. Andy Crawford says, artist palette knife for me, least for the ground goop. Sorry, Ralph. Eric Hall says, I have been adding feeders in Salt River Valley Yard. When I'm done, it will be some 120 plus single feeders added, but 13 tracks and turnouts and a reverse loops of electrical fun. Yeah, I can imagine. Oh, and the big talking point, the old layout is now attached to the new edition finally. Should be in service in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've been
Good deal.
following his stuff on YouTube. That's a huge yard, both of them, what he's building. And it's the fascia and everything is beautiful too. Very neat, organized. Still big. Still more track than I have.
CSX Railline Productions says, great build, Curtis. Great build.
Thank you.
Curtis, how do you make your clouds? Because those are awesome.
That was Phil Wyman and Jim Ross's suggestion of cutting out just random figures out on the cardboard, keeping it about an inch away, lightly spraying it. And then I went back with the airbrush and faded out where I'd hit it too much. And this reason this is cloudy back here is there's going to be a mountain range here. And I'm thinking about getting that lightning and thunder to go with it for this scene.
Wow, that's awesome. I've used that technique in the past for my old scale layout way back in the day. And yeah, always satisfied with the way it came out. What kind of color blue do you use? Because I'm still trying to figure out the right color blue for my walls.
Well, if I can find the can.
It's sky blue, of course.
Of course. What else? What
Well,
other?
all different shades. I'm looking all over the place, and I can't find the one that's exactly, I guess, not right. There's no really right sky.
No, if I were to do it over again, though, I would do the lighter blue and then hit the top part with the next shade up. Because no matter where you look outside, unless it's raining, the clouds get darker blue as you go up.
Right.
Here.
Until he finds that. Eric Hall says to you, Joe, I think you're talking about someone else. I have no fascia on my layout yet, and it is organized chaos.
I thought I saw fascia, unless it's unless it was the part of the original layout. And I've seen the last post he has with that. I think it's a 13-track yard. That huge yard he has, and it's painted black on the bottom. Looks like.
Okay.
Well,
Curtis,
they put
Leo Blocker says, awesome job, Curtis. Awesome job, and welcome to the show, to Johnny's Train Talk Show, Leo. Lee.
Okay, making Curtis work here.
Unfortunately, the sticker does not say the color. It's just got the coating, but it's just, I went with Bear Premium.
Okay, I'm actually writing this down.
And then I went, I just diluted it down to run in the airbrush to do the feathering.
Ralph Renzetti says, there is really no right color. Start light and get darker as you go up.
Yep.
Oh,
that was the only thing I didn't do, is I didn't go darker going up, which doesn't mean I can't do it now.
Right.
But I would have to cover up a lot of stuff because I'm really not a good airbrusher.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, Lee. Lee corrected me on his last name. It's Beckler, Beckle. Sorry about that. Dave BNSF, N-Scale, semi-retired, semi-driver, about a million shades of sky depending on where you are in the country. And Eric Hall says, I'm a fan of perfect electrical connections. Bad connections just bug me. Get it? Bug me. The bug in the... No? Okay. I got in the elevator the other day and pushed the buttons. Everybody who came in, I said, what floor? 2, what floor? 3? I told him, I said, I used to be an elevator operator. The guy said, really? I said, yeah, I got fired though. He said, how come? I said, I forgot the route. Bada boom. I'll be here all week, folks. Don't forget to take the elevator. Eric Paul says, I just started to paint everything, so maybe that is what you're seeing. Lots of brown paint all over the upside down box frame bench work. Yeah, that could be it.
I feel bad. I feel Lee's pain because no one can say my last name, which is Ginto. And I always have to say, well, it's gin, like gin and tonic, and toe, like your big toe.
Just don't call you late for dinner, Joe. That's it.
Well, Tim Patterson, he goes, how do you say your last name? I go, and I just said gin and toe. He goes, okay, that makes sense.
Lee says, Bill, you don't remember me? I've been on here many times, sir. Of course I remember you, Lee. You have that little L square, single, nice little layout thing going on. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say, we're coming to the end, I guess what you would call the modeling season. You know, the cold weather is slowly leaving us. It doesn't seem that way in parts of this country. But does everybody stop modeling for the summer, or do you still? Okay, everybody on here.
It can slow down for me, but it doesn't stop. I usually have to wait till later in the evenings because I'm in the attic. For me.
Yeah, well, that's true because the heat builds up there and everything.
Yeah, I'm planning to try to pull some models out and then work on them piece by piece and put them aside after they're done. So it's going to be coming up soon.
Yeah, for me, the summertime is the best time because
you're in Florida.
It's so hot outside you can't do anything. So you stay inside and you work on your models, and in the winter times when you get out and do stuff. All you got to do is hope you finish it before it gets too hot.
Yeah.
Your paint dries a lot faster in the summer. If you're doing any painting.
CSX Rail Line Productions asks, what part of the state are you in? Is that question for me, CSX? Because if it is, I am in New York City. I'm in one of the 5 boroughs called Staten Island. Joe is a former resident of Staten Island. That's how me and Joe met. Joe was on tour, and he was on his truck somewhere in the West. Am I correct? In the tour van with the band?
Yeah, my artist, he moved back to Texas, so I'm no longer with him. But he has a few shows that he wanted us to play and sub in. His band Texas couldn't make it, so we rented a car and I picked up the musicians that we normally tour with, and we just drove out to Oklahoma for a night, came back, and then picked up another guitar player and drove out to Missouri for 2 days. So
that's how Joe got wind of us, and then Joe came back for the Christmas holiday, and he visited me at my house because he wasn't too far from where I live, and it was Christmas Eve, and Joe was getting thousands of text messages from his family saying, we're about to eat. It's Christmas Eve. And he had his camera equipment all over the place. And he was stuff like that. So, yeah, CSX Rail, I hear you. He's taking a stand on the change of the weather. I know it's crazy. It's crazy here on the East Coast. It's one day warm, one day hot. So So, but I have to tell you honestly that when the summertime comes, when the weather starts getting like, I have to say the end of June and July, I've kind of made it a point to take the summer off. I kind of walk away from this and not the hobby. I'm still involved. I'm thinking up new things and doing new things, and or trying to be a part of it. But I kind of there's so much going on in the summer, especially here, and stuff. So I'm one of those guys that walk away, and that wasn't a light decision. I was in it all winter, and then I stayed through the summer, and then I started getting burnt out, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? And then it became agonizing to come into the room, and I said, I got to take time away from it. So I did, and in taking time away from it, I have to tell you, that's how I came up with the restructuring of the peninsula and the restructuring of the putting in the junkyard and stuff like that. So it's kind of rekindled my enthusiasm, and I'm back into it now. But now we're coming to the end. So what I've decided to do this year is put a much needed projects that aren't big projects, but are projects nonetheless, that I'm going to establish the workstation in my living room. And, and so now I've taken some projects that I want to do, and I put them on where my new workstation is, and I've kind of labeled them as to the order I want to do them in, and I'm hopefully going to stay busy that way, because I want to, because it kind of rekindled when I took time off the enthusiasm that I had for it, so that I was starting to lose, and then I wanted it back. So now doing what I did, the reconstruction of all this and tearing it up, and and taking my time. Because like Curtis said, if he had to do it all over again, he'd do it different. If I had to do this all over again, I certainly would have done it different. What I would have done, lighting wise, in my layout room, which I think I have pretty good lighting, but I would have spaced this lighting out a little bit more, and I would have hung a low ceiling fan in here to circulate the air. I do have to put an air conditioner in this window in the summertime, but I made allowances for that. But still, all in all, I would have separated these lights straight across and a light bar going like in a T, and put a ceiling fan hugged straight to the ceiling, so I could circulate air in here, because it tends to get a little stuffy. But that's
are you using fluorescents or LEDs or
LEDs? The room just gets hot anyway, because we sit over. This room sits over the boiler right here. And in the wintertime, this is a very nice place to be, because if you've seen previous videos of mine, you'll see that I look out onto the cemetery. So when it's snowing out, it's very pretty and very contemplative to, philosophize about life. And I'm in here working on my trains, and those guys out there are 6 feet under. So could be worse.
That they are.
But it's good. All things are good. So I was just asking if everybody stops building or stops model railroading, and to the conclusion of the panel that's on the air, most of you guys are no. Andy, how do you square on that?
Well, I have to take a lot of breaks through the year anyway. Life's a busy business for me, so I take a lot of breaks anyway. So sometimes those lay into the summer. Sometimes I'm busy through the winter, and I don't get a model as much in the summer. If I modeled all winter long, I would probably take more of a break through the summer, but I don't like the heat. I also don't like the cold. So either way, I'm just happy to be in the trade. So.
CSX Railing Production says, I have so many models to build, so summer is good for me, so the solvent smells can be released out the window. That's true, too. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to share with you guys. A good buddy of mine bought me a compressor and a set three airbrush guns, tools.
Wow.
Okay.
Out of nowhere. He showed up with the box. He got it on Amazon. It's the Master You can look it up. It was 119. He had other reasons for buying it. He wanted to use it, but he realized for the project that he wanted to use it for, and then once it was done, he was never going to use it again. So he said, if I get it, do you want it? And I was like, get it and I'll split the cost with you. Because it wasn't that expensive. But anyway, he did. He brought it over, and we've been working on this project of his, which I have to say is UPN. Very good. And we've been doing it. But out of it, he said to me today, as we're coming to the end of the project, he said, listen, I want you to have this, and you can have all the airbrush guns that go with it. So I was very, thankful that he did that, and tried to persuade him not to, but he did.
That's another delay was I had to buy a new airbrush because I didn't use the proper cleaning for a true color paint. Kind of what messed me up a little bit.
Well, I've been coming to find out that if you don't, they gave you three, with this package deal, they gave you 3 brushes. They gave you the beginners with the jar underneath it. They gave you the intermediate, and then they gave you the so-called professional, air quote, professional one. So I've been using the beginner's one, and if you don't clean the gun thoroughly, you got a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I neglected. Things came up and I didn't clean it, and I got in this morning to start up before he came over. I couldn't get it to spray, and I really, really had to get some thin wire and push it through, and a big clump of paint came out, and I rinsed it.
One of the tricks I found that I like is if something comes up and I have to run off, and I've been working with air gun and I can't clean it properly, I'll still blow some alcohol through it. I got one of those little Iwata bottles that you to clean it out, which I think is for $15-$20, that's a no-brainer with an airbrush. If I can't clean it thoroughly, and I'll clean it somewhat, but if I can't clean it thoroughly, I have a butter dish or something like that I just dump the thing alcohol in, throw the brush in it. As long as it's under alcohol, it's fine, and I can clean it when I get back later because things come up. But I agree. Maintenance is one of the keys, and a lot of people are afraid of airbrushing. And I've said to other people talking about this, I am very, very, very far from an artist. On the spectrum of artist engineer, I'm adamantly on the engineer side, and I never thought I'd be able to airbrush. That's why I bought a single action to begin with to get used, because I just thought I'd never be able to do it. And it's my single favorite. If I have a single tool that's my favorite in modeling, it's the airbrush. I'm no expert at it. I've got a long way to go to get any good whatsoever, but I already massively enjoy it.
Yeah, I've been playing with this thing because yesterday my buddy didn't come over, and I took it out. I took everything out, and I have a few derelict box cars, and I just started practicing on them on all 3 brushes, 3 airbrushes, and I was like, just seeing, okay, this is what this is, this what can this, and this what this can do, and this what this can't do, and what I can do and what I can't do. And I tell you, I liked it. I mean, I really did. It went on. It just added a new dimension to the hobby. Like I was that guy. Like, oh, I got to clean this up. I got to do this. But I tell you, it's part of it's part of the enjoyment of it, and it's also, I know I say this a lot, but it's also it's soothing, if you mean,
cathartic or whatever that people say in laying track. It may be tedious for some people, but it's
part of the hobby. It's part of it, and when you really get into it, then as I'm sitting there and I'm cleaning the airbrush and I'm cleaning the jar, and I'm running whatever I'm running through it, and I'm like, I'm thinking of other projects. I'm saying to myself, the buildings that I have on here, I'm going to scrap them all. I'm going to take them all apart. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to weather them. And, of course, I'm getting like really nuts.
It becomes a habit cleaning it. And after learning how to custom pay clients stuff, it's, you really get a handle for it. And I tell you, it becomes a lot of fun. And I mean, it's the only time I get stressed out. Again, with true color paints, there's certain things you got to do to clean it, and I haven't using the proper stuff, so that was kind of my issue. So every second I had to use it, I had to clean it right away. Sometimes take an hour to put it back together, and it just was a mess. I prefer Tamiya or Model Masters, those kind of paint, but the colors I wanted, I had to go for True Color, unfortunately. But True Colors are great too. But now like Mudfather, Ralph Vanzetti, and my buddy TJ, they taught me a lot about using True Colors. So the next time I use it, I'm going to learn how to properly clean it the next time, since I have a new airbrush. So once you really get the handle on it, it becomes a lot more fun to use. It really is, especially when you do custom painting work, because now you're like, oh, cool, I just painted this, And I never thought in my life I would actually be custom painting a locomotive, and doing decals for people. And here I am doing it, and I'm like getting so excited to do my own stuff,
Right. Well, I have to tell you that the use of the airbrush and the compressor that my buddy wanted to use it for was, he came to me with an idea, and he went and got some Nike white sneakers, and he decaled them. He put we masked the sneaker except for the front part of the thing anyway. And what he did was he put a custom design on it. He had decals made up, and the way he did, I can't explain how he did it, but he put he got girls' sizes, and he put the Archie figures. He had them put them on. So he had Archie, Jughead, Veronica, and Betty. And he custom sprayed them with this special paint that he bought. And we did 3 shoes like that, 3 sets of shoes like that. And I couldn't believe how easy it was, and now he's going to put them on eBay and sell them for millions and millions of dollars, I guess. I don't know. But, so that was the, he was a car and body man prior to his, that was something he did for many years. So he was pretty proficient on the brushing, the airbrush. I was watching him, and he was and I was like, how did you do that? And he's and he works. He used to work in the, taping and masking cars. So he's really fast, whereas I'm doing one sneaker, and I'm with my burnishing tool, I'm and he's finished and on to the next one, and I'm let me look at yours, and it's just as good. So Ralph Renzetti says, Andy, and who got you there, buddy? Apparently,
no doubt about it. Ralph has got to, Ralph is the biggest contributor to me having any comfort level with it. Now, I wanted to get into airbrushing, even if I didn't know if I wanted to do freight cars and stuff with it or not. But I knew for doing scenery stuff. But I mean, Ralph's done that for a whole lot of us in the community, to produce a comfort level with doing certain things that would seem outside of our core competencies.
Yeah, I have to admit to that. Ralph is. What's that? Oh, he says, Bill, contact me and I'll get you fixed up. Okay. Deckles, yes, Deckles. I know Deckles. I was telling my friend that, Edwin. Edwin is doing this. And I said, Edwin, you know what they call decals in Canada? And he goes, no, what? I said, Deckles. And he went, oh, okay. And I said, aren't you impressed? And he goes, no.
Here's the funny thing about that, and I tend to, if I know the right way to do something, I will try to do it the right way, unless I really want to say it another way. I've heard all the arguments for why multiple caboose is cabooses. I get that argument that it is probably linguistically to say cabooses, but I like saying caboose, so I'll just take the error. I'll just take the being wrong and keep saying caboose.
Hey, you say tomato, I say tomato.
But I realize that's wrong. But I've had it argued with me that it's not advertisement, it's advertisement. I actually like saying advertisement better now, so I try to correct myself. We call it in the U.S. We call them decals. In all the rest of the world, they're decals. So how could 195 countries be wrong and us be right? So it's probably decals. And I've got to where I end up saying that more just out of like talking to Ralph about the stuff. So I think that was rubbing off on me, but I'm not.
Well, it's like we were talking about the other night too, Andy. Aluminum and aluminium.
Aluminium.
I wish I could do aluminium. I like the way that sounds. I think aluminium flows better off my tongue, but I have not been able to commit to that yet. So,
Listen, just to give a heads up here and a shout out, I want to Dwight of Northern Star Railroad Line. He says there are at least 1,000 videos out there on YouTube about airbrushing, plus our own Ralph Renzetti. And my shout out is to Dwight, because I think I mentioned this. I think on the last Thursday show, I was in the Q&A and I mentioned that I got this air compressor. And Dwight sent me to my email address. He sent me a ton of videos on YouTube on beginning, intermediate, and professional. And I subscribed to the channel, and I've been watching them delight. And I want to thank you very, very much for that, for thinking of me that way. That was good looking out, buddy. I do greatly appreciate it, and I did not want to forget. Since I saw you text, your question, saying that, I wanted to give you that heads up that I got it. And thanks again. That's Deco Bill. Yes, from Ralph Renzetti. We can agree to disagree, but I don't have a problem saying Deco. I don't. I really don't. And I thoroughly enjoy doing this. It's, something I was resistant to, but now I'm getting into. I don't know how far I'll get into it. But like I said earlier, taking the summer off is kind of like what I do, but like I built some projects up, and I'm going to tackle them and attempt them. And I have to tell you that I finished doing this on the South Brooklyn Railroad, the junkyard, and the curved track, and I put a retaining wall around the fascia. I put a retaining wall around the fascia from, I put caboose.
That was an interesting way to do that. I'm glad you shared that. That was interesting.
I put this, Toots thing, and I put it up. But I have to tell you a story with this. I put this retaining wall up, and someone emailed me, and I think it was in the comments too, but someone emailed me and asked me, why did you put a retaining wall up on your fascia board, on the little 1.5 inch fascia board around the peninsula? So I gave them the answer to the question, because every time I ever see anybody have their train that ends in a peninsula or has a peninsula and it goes around, you always see either the fascia board is flush with the layout, or it's up just about 1 inch, 2 inches, and it's always bare. So I had the Chooch thing, because I bought this in Amherst, but not last year, the year before. What's his name was having a sale on them, so I bought a ton of these. And I said, why not put it on there? And I think one of the comments I got on the video was, again, why did you do that? So I panned the camera back to the river. And I said, the reason why I put the retaining walls up is because there's a river right behind that. And I then panned the camera to the floor, and I said, if you can imagine, there's a bay right here. There's a bay right here. And the water is coming against, that's the seawall. I said, you have to use your imagination now, because the river's flowing, and it's flowing around the peninsula, and there's a bay here where the water stays. So that's the reason why we have a retaining wall. And then as the track came to the apex of the peninsula, I couldn't put this retaining wall up because the trains would hit it. So I painted a no clearance thing in black and red stripes. And someone said, restrictive areas aren't painted black and red. To which my reply was, it is when that's the only paint you have on hand.
That's South Brooklyn colors too. Who's to say if that's what they decided to paint something? It's not like it's
Well,
or DOT standard here. They did what they.
I don't think that they're wrong, and I don't think that they're right. And I could go with the old adage, well, it's my railroad, I can do what I want. But I don't want to say that or do that. I think the railroad thing is all about imagination.
Andy,
it's all about.
You said I'm live. You said you might be going to New York in a while. Let me know, and I'll send you my dive gear. So if you get a chance to go over to Bill's, you'll have something when you go around the peninsula.
Go swim in that. Yeah, got to pass around the peninsula.
I have a rubber ducky around me right now. I'm just waiting. In fact, my hands are all pruny.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, how many people have a story for their layout? How many people have a story for their layout?
I didn't write the story, but I have a story.
You have a story? I have a story. I have the junkyard. The junkyard is run by Big Jack O'Shea. And he has
little stories.
He has a barbecue going. You know why he has a barbecue going? Because on the South Brooklyn Railroad, that's the scuzziest job that anybody wants. So the senior men don't take it, and they leave it all to the young guys, all the newbies, the ones with the seniority number that's like a zip code. The guys with single digit seniority numbers don't touch that. So what does Big Jack say? Big Jack says, let me get a barbecue for these guys and give them cold drinks. And when they come in here, they can have. Now it became famous. Now what happened was the senior guys heard it. So they started outbidding on the job sheet to take the job away from the younger guy. So what does Jack do when he finds out? Big Jack O'Shea says, that's it, I'm shutting down the barbecue. After the barbecue was shut down, the senior men were like, I'm not working that because that's a scuzz job, man. It's dirty, it's grimy, it's dusty. I'm not working there. They want to switch out flour at the Pillsbury factory and at the Canavelli, and they want to drop coal loads off in and out at the Dean Street power station. So now it goes back to the young guys again. So now the young guys are in there and they're enjoying it. And Jack got the smoker in there, and he's got the barbecue grill, and every Thursday he's got the brisket, and he's got an ice chest in there, and they take care of business. So there's my story.
And now the young guys, the low seniority guys, just need to know to keep it on the down low this time.
Well, it is what it is, but. That and the Canavelli Pasta Factory is in cahoots against the Pillsbury, and then we got Genco Oil and Coal. That's why we put the weight station in. And the weight station technically shouldn't really be here, so you shouldn't really be weighing the coal. But the Dean Street Power, the Warren Street Power Company figured out that they were getting shorted coal. And how did they find out they were getting shorted coal on the South Brooklyn Railroad? Because every time they switched out, a load of coal would go to the Genco Coal and Oil for a few of the customers they had. Then they noticed that when they would switch out some coal loads, they noticed that the coal loads designed to go to the Warren Street Power were getting shorted, and they couldn't figure it out. Why were they getting shorted? This was the amount of coal or tonnage they were supposed to get. So they found out that Frankie Riceballs, who runs Genco, AKA for a certain number of families, was skimming off the top of the coal load. Things got really stupid for a while. I couldn't even come into the layout. The open was crying, people knocking on my door trying to find out what's going on. They had surveillance cameras in the layout. I couldn't do nothing. Then things died down because they put the weight station in, and then once they put the power company put the weight station in, now everything gets weighed. So they cut back on that. So who's got a story?
And that's a very accurate story with the way coal was treated up through the 70s, especially, that ended up with why Harlan, Kentucky became known as Bloody Harlan, the famous, the whole reason that rednecks are called rednecks is a story from Kentucky where the miners were going on strike, and the railroad men who aligned with the coal strikers would tie a red bandana around their necks. The fireman and engineer, the railroad crew would, and they become known as rednecks. And that story took place in Harlan, Kentucky. So there's a long history of scandalous stuff happening in the coal industry So, especially any of us who model Appalachia or coal industry or railroads, it doesn't matter. If you model a railroad, the key, and one of my favorite things is those little vignettes. And if you create the little stories, even if you never get the chance to tell each of those stories to your visitors, if you think of it as a way of stories, the layout will come to life. Just a natural tendency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's got to be a rhyme to reason for it. There's got to be a rhyme to reason for it. And you should enjoy it. Absolutely. Everyone should enjoy their layout. Everyone. It's just a matter of having fun. Just a matter of having fun. Show of hands out there. How many people have fun on their railroad?
I wouldn't do it. Why would you do this? Why would you spend the money, time, effort if it wasn't fun?
Well, because I can't get laid.
Yeah, okay.
I have no life. I have no life. I have no friends.
But there's
Should I
easier
go
hobbies.
on?
But there's easier hobbies. There's a lot of hobbies out there to do. You could do a lot of different hobbies. This hobby is, people who argue about the cost of this hobby, they're not wrong. I think there's ways to make it cheaper, more cost-effective. But it is an expensive hobby. It can be a frustrating hobby. It has a high barrier to entry from learning and experience, knowledge, all kinds of things. It's not an easy hobby to be a member of. I'm sure there's harder. If you were a hobby, nuclear physicist or, something like that, that's probably more challenging. But there's a whole lot easier hobbies too. So,
I mean, there's underwater basket weaving.
There you go.
Yeah, the barrier to entry on that seems high too, but the cost of entry doesn't seem as rough.
It only makes sense if you don't think about it, as my friend Joe G out in Arizona said. Dwight of Northern Star Rich Railroad Lines goes, Bill! I do apologize to anybody who was offended by my last comment. It was not my intention. It just came to my mind the time I said it. So I didn't have a filter. I do apologize. If we get banned from YouTube, I take full responsibility.
We are past 9 o'clock. I think that's cable TV rules or something, though.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
We'll be all right.
John Dilly says all hobbies are expensive. Yes, they are. RC cars are very expensive to deal with, says CSX Rail Line Productions. I think, I think that it's all, I think that Ralph can attest to this. I'm sure Andy and Curtis can attest to this, and so can Joe and Tim and Cabana Bob. If you're in the hobby, you have things that you've accumulated. Am I right, guys? You've accumulated tools. You've accumulated stuff. I know for a fact that nobody. My wife calls me a pack rat. She's like, "What?" I said, "Don't throw that out." She goes, "Why?" I said, "Don't throw it out. I might need that." And she says, "Need it for what?" I said, "I don't know." And there came a time when I will need that. And we all do it. You take plastic bits and like we get, if we order Chinese food, right? The cups, the little, if you get soup or whatever.
Those are awesome. Those are awesome.
I keep those. I tell my wife, like she goes to the delicatessen and she'll get like, for the week, she'll get macaroni salad and coleslaw and chicken salad and whatever. I tell her, wash these. And she goes, for what? And I'm like, just wash them. I'm telling you, they come in handy. My wife goes to the supermarket shop and she buys these little, 3-pack, like it has little cheese in it. It has nuts. It has raisins, and there are 3 compartments. I said, I take them when she's finished and I wash them out. Why? Because they're paint palettes, glue palettes.
Yeah.
So we all got something that we got. So when you're working on something at 2:30 in the morning and all the Home Depots and Lowe's and your hobby shops are closed, you go, I need a piece of plastic about that big. And I got it. You go through your little box and you're like throwing all that stuff out. And there it is. Got it.
Yep.
You learn to improvise. You learn. You learn to improvise. You have an imagination. You be creative. That's what the whole hobby is about. Little things like that. Do it. I'm 30, and I guess I consider some of the young people in the hobby, as they call it, and I'm always on a budget. I'm a single guy. I have apartments. I was in between jobs for like a couple months, but even with that, You know, always try to make ends meet and save a little for my future. eBay's been my best friend for the past few months. Now, I love train stores. I do. I don't have one here, unfortunately. I mean, if you want to really consider the one at the Tennessee Central, they don't have much stuff what I want. You know, so I accumulate older models and they upgrade them. So I'll buy a $40 locomotive and I put a $60, $70, $80 decoder in it. It's still cheaper than what's out there, and it still sounds just the same. You know, and
you're a prototype.
I'm sorry?
You're a prototyper like me. The problem is you can't just go to a hobby shop. We're looking for very specific things. We can't walk in or Google trades and just say, well, I like that, I like that, I like this.
Right, that's true too. But overall, there's a lot. You know, also have the fictional short lines. So what's good with doing something that's fictional is that you'll have something against like the prototype because it's your railroad. It's your fictional thing. So,
Yeah, true.
So you know, so you could get away with some details not being there if it doesn't bother you. You know, I know a lot. Some certain things I want fully LED, fully DCC sound and everything. Some things I go, I don't care. You know. So you know when it comes to you know it being expensive, yes, it is regardless, and that goes heck. If you're collecting stocks, that could get expensive too. You know, and it depends how much money you're willing to put into it and where to budget and know where your priorities are financially.
Well, collecting stocks would be expensive. You just steal the neighbors.
Well, these are pretty expensive. I love them though.
Dwight of Northern Stars Railroad Line says, if you have a wife, any hobby is too expensive, but at least you are home every night. This is true. John Dilly says, yes, Bill, we are pack rats, LOL. Kyle Jesse just walked into the room of the Cumberland Division. Hello, Kyle. And let's see, Dave from BNS N Scale can't be modeling without gathering a lot of stuff. You are so right, brother. You are so right. JC Whiptrack says, I'm late. What did I miss? Well,
everything.
Yeah, basically.
Bill was dancing. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was dancing. But welcome to the show. Never too late. We were just basically the last thing we were talking about was taking time off for the summer. Does your layout have a story behind it? Did you have a story? Did you make up a story? Have you made up a story? Talked about the expensiveness of the hobby and how we collect things as hobbyists, as model railroading, little ends of thing instead of when you cut the end of the, like this, okay, this technically should be trash, you know, this is what would be trash, you take it, throw it away, and that's it. And you just never know when you might need something just like this, you know, or even this part. Just cut it off and put it someplace, you know, on the layout to give it something till something else comes along, you know. But other than that, we're just talking about how much fun Gary Corbin, LOL at John, I call my model railroad pack route. Been pack routing stuff for years. Gary's going to be on our show on June 5th with his layout, so be sure you put that in your calendar because Gary's gotten back into the hobby and he's building something that's exciting and for him, and he's really enthused. So we're going to do that with him. So, but other than that,
yeah, my wife and I have I don't know what you want to call it, a slush fund that we try to maintain a certain amount in case something ever happens. And we hadn't checked it in quite a while. It's like you need to assess where we're at. Well, I'm out working on her new shed, and she comes out and she goes, "Well, we're over." And I said, "So Daddy gets a new engine?" Ooh, that didn't go over good.
No brownie points.
So you got to wait. It's timing. The key is timing. You say, "Oh, honey, what we were talking about yesterday, I thought of something." Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Gary, just throwing this in there. Gary Corbin says, "Keeps me very occupied, this hobby, between pondering and building." AK-47 in Hollywood, true modelers, says never throw anything away because you never know if you may need it in the future or not. LOL. Yes. 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 Gary Corbin says, I'm not cheap, I'm thrifty. I hear you, brother. It's what it's about. It's like Joe said it earlier. You have to overcome something. Sometimes you just got to think. Sometimes you go to a hobby shop and you look at these things that you purchase, and you look at what you're about to purchase, and it hits you that you've come a long way in your hobby. That you look at something that's packaged and sold, and I'm not putting down the manufacturer. This is not about that. But you say to yourself, I could build it. I can actually do this and save money because I have this material at home, and you do that.
Like me and Andy have talked about here a couple months ago, build our own rail bumpers. From scrap rail. It doesn't take long to solder one up.
Yeah. JC Riptrack says he's reluctant to throw anything away. Throw away spruce. Never know when you can use it for piping. I have to tell you, since I met Ralph Renzetti, aka the Mud Father, Ralph told me when you're building a model and you snip off the spruce ends, take the little bulbous ends of it and throw it in your welder's cement, liquid cement, because it will melt down and integrate with the glue and make it a stronger bond. And since I've been doing that, he's absolutely correct.
Sprue goo. I've heard it called sprue goo. I've got a little of EBK with sprue bits in it. That is, that's my sprue goo. And there's times we'd use it like Tamiya or Squadron Putty is great, but there's a lot of times we'd use it sprue goo. It's a good trick.
Oh, Bill, you said your friend gave you that flat car, correct? And you can't use it?
I think you signed it.
So, maybe you should take a picture with your friend who gave you that, and you can make a billboard out of it, and place it on the flat car as a new billboard being produced, and you just have it on a shelf somewhere.
And here I thought you were just another pretty face. See that?
He's Italian and lives in Nashville.
Look at that. Look at that. Not only is he good looking, he's smart. That's not a bad idea, bro. That is not a bad idea. He signed it too. He was a conductor in the Transit Authority. Conductor Jim Malloy. What a great guy he is. That was the other thing. For you guys who came late, I should have mentioned that before too. My friend Jim Malloy, thank you, Joe, for that, so I could recount what happened today. My friend Jim Malloy, who I used to work with in the Transit Authority, he's a retired conductor now. Him and his dad went out west, and he FaceTimed me this afternoon. He was in Ogden, Utah, for the big boy, the Union Pacific, and he actually FaceTimed me live the ceremony of the driving of the Golden Spike when the two engines were face to face, and he actually FaceTimed the whole thing to me, and I was taken by surprise. And it was good fortune that he did it. He's not a model railroad. He's simply heard about the big boy coming out, and he told his father, I'm going, you want to come? And his father said, yeah, let's do this. And they took a plane out there, and they're out in Utah right now, and he's going to see where the actual Golden Spike was, driven at that point tomorrow. And I thought that was pretty cool. And he's going to come back. That's the reason why. When he comes back, he lives up on over the Bronx line. He lives up in Westchester County. And I'm going to have him on to talk about it. He's taken a ton of pictures. I kind of persuaded him to be the model railroading live reporter from Ogden, Utah. So.
Roving field reporter. That's right.
Yes, he's going to be a roving field reporter. In fact, he sent me a little clip and he said, "Hi." He said, "Hey, this is Jim Malloy reporting for Model Railroading Live for Bill Graham and the model railroading community. I'm here in Ogden, Utah, and behind me you see the big boy engine's 844 and whatever the other number was, 4140, and they're about to do the golden spike ceremony. So let's cut to the thing, and then it ended, and he did the live feed. So and stuff like that. So that was pretty good. So we're gonna have him on, and when he gets back and settled in and everything. So it should be a pretty interesting interview and everything like that.
Have you noticed? Okay.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Joe?
Have you noticed that in front of the nose of 4014, the big boy, it's chalked in big boy on the front of the nose?
I didn't see it. He was facing it was like this. I didn't get to see the front of it. They had a barrier. They had a back. They said that they had a barrier set up all the way around. But Jim Malloy was telling me he was talking to one of the officials that he talked to there, and they said they expected 18,000 people to be there.
Wow,
that's a pretty good turnout. That's a spectacular turnout, actually. Consider. He
asked me who Train Magazine was. He said, "Who are those guys?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because they walk around here with camera equipment up the yazoo, and they got these yellow vests on that say Train."
Yeah, they're out there doing the live streaming as well.
Yeah, so that's what I told him.
Yeah, on the front of 4014, Big Boy. There, in chalk, it's written "Big Boy" on the front of the nose of the steam engine. And there's something I've learned. Actually, I watched Knee podcast. They were just talking about this. How I learned about this. The Big Boy wasn't supposed to be the original name. It was supposed to be something else, begins with a W. I'm sure. I'm sure someone in the comments will probably correct me or at least give the name. Something Wheelhammer, something like that. So one of the employees did not like that. And so this is back in the original day when they first built them. The guy in chalk put "Big Boy" on the front of the nose, and it went viral. And so they called it "Big Boy" overall. At the end of the day, so someone recreated the "Big Boy" chalk, almost exactly like back in the day, and put it on the nose of 4014.
Oh,
yeah, with their idea of viral in 1941 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
right.
I know what it was to go viral
when they went to 41. Do it, and it's a good life.
Not social media, not Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. It was newsreel. That's right. That makes sense. Yeah, they did pick up those funny names. I mean, the railroads, not as much today, when many of the railroads are ran by accountants for the most, some of them are anyway. But back then, railroads were run by railroad men, hands down. And the reason they called engineers is because, you couldn't be a driver. You had to know a lot about this stuff. And they were very utilitarian about that stuff. They would refer to the Big Boy as the 4014. I'm taking 4014 today. They weren't, some of the guys would give their own locomotives women's names the way that, guys named their aircrafts or car or whatever. But we have glamorized things a lot more than these more utilitarian types, or at least that's what I find on the railroads that I have a historical interest in.
CSX Railline Production says, "I've seen many videos on the Big Boy. What an impressive piece of machinery. In Hollywood, AK-47 in Hollywood, I had the pleasure of seeing the Big Boy back when it was at the LA County Fair. It is an impressive indeed."
I like the Challenger better, but that's personal preference. I think the Challengers, it comes down to utilitarian benefit. And I wish some of them, like Cito Allegheny, which was a bigger locomotive by some standards, or, Big Boy's only the biggest locomotive by one standard, I think, by length, by boiler, or by tractive effort. Other locomotives take the cake on that. Norfolk and Western, that I love so much, the reason I love it is because the big steam locomotives. The Y6B is the most powerful tractive effort locomotive. Cito Allegheny is the biggest boiler size. So there's a lot of reasons to love a lot of different locomotives. Challenger always come off as more functional, less showboating, more get the work done. What's that?
Jack?
Huh.
Dwight of Northern Star Railroad Line. What's Shack?
What's that? Or something like that.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And then we begin with a W almost like Sasquatch, like Mustache or Whitesash. It's a
Yeah.
weird name. I mean, heck, cool. It's Sasquatch. Definitely, it's a Sasquatch. That's a big beast.
AK-47 in Hollywood says, I wonder if we'll see a restored Allegheny next.
No, okay. There's a problem with a lot of these locomotives. The big boy has some benefits in that it can run at track speeds that you would want to run excursion service at. My favorite locomotive is the Y6B. It's very similar to the Allegheny. They're quite powerful locomotives. And while the Allegheny will get up to some speed, it's really struggling to maintain the track speeds that they want to run for excursion service. The Norfolk Western Class A, the 1218, they had running when I was young. I got to ride behind it in the passenger equipment before, and it could keep up track speed, but it was built to run 70 with a freight train. The Y6B, for example, run 40, 45. The Allegheny, will get up to 60 some miles an hour, but you're hammering it. I mean, these locomotives, we have a different idea. Today, most of the railroad equipment runs at similar speeds. That's just the way the system works. Back then they had very different classes of locomotives, and you'd have a Class J that could run at 90 and run it. It was designed to run at 70 for 23 hours straight if it needed to, basically, comfortably. But the vast majority of those locomotives were 25-mile-an-hour machines, and that is not very conducive to passenger service.
Yeah.
They're built for their purpose.
That's right.
Cold
That,
region,
like this
logging
train,
region, just for that purpose. Yeah. I wish they would really bring back the Hudson. I
Well,
think that
honestly,
would be
we
great.
lost the best locomotives. The locomotives that would be best serviced in a modern revenue service, like the Pensy T1s. I don't think there's any of those that survive the cutting torches. And the Pensy T1 would be a spectacular. I mean, it's a beautiful locomotive anyway. Would be a spectacular locomotive. Was built to run 90. The reason they were able to return to 611 under fire was because it could run at modern track speeds and modern track conditions, even if it is steam powered. Not to mention these big articulateds like the big boy. Not that all of them aren't expensive. Very, 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 very expensive to return to service. These big articulated locomotives, like I love so much, like the big boy, the Challenger, those are spectacularly, exhaustively expensive.
Right. The Nashville, was it Nashville, Chattanooga, St. Louis steam engine in Nashville? They're building that. I've seen the progress on it in person. They're doing a great job. I can't wait to see that running on the R.J. Corman.
Is that who's doing that? Is R.J. Corman's doing that? That's not a TVRE project.
It is, but the R.J. Corman control. R.J.
Okay.
Corman built Nashville and Eastern, Nashville Western. Actually, kind of sad. They just repainted the war bonnet into R.J. Corman paint scheme. It's weird to see a wide cab with that paint scheme, but it's very sharp looking.
But it's also that the Union Pacific has done what they've done by bringing these locomotives back. Just about all of the locomotives that have been brought back have been brought back. There's been a few brought back. The Norfolk Southern brought back the 611 and the 1218 in the late 80s or in the 80s. But most of them have been brought about by like the TVR, MTC Valley Railroad Museum, R.J. Corbin, Steamtown, what's that one up in Pennsylvania? It's so famous. Strasburg. That's the ones that are keeping these locomotives going. You've got to give the Union Pacific props. A company that is there to haul intermodal traffic and such across the country would put this much energy into the fallen flag and in their book, the relics of the industry. I think great PR stuff, but these are companies that don't benefit that much from PR.
No.
Well, gentlemen,
I think it's their passion. It's history. They love restoring history.
Yeah.
We've come to the end. We have come to the very end of this. And I think that this in itself, we should have a show on categorizing steam engines and having the steam engine guys with the diesel guys and stuff like that. But it always is interesting. And I want to thank everybody out there who was involved in the Q&A. Thank you so much. They were interesting questions. And just to follow up on that, next Tuesday, we'll have the Fine Scale show with Andy. Who will be on with you, Andy? Ralph? Miles?
At least.
And Lloyd?
At least we may have a few more.
Okay. And you'll be doing a thing on bridges.
Yes, absolutely. Design all the way through the weathering process of bridges.
Nice. So that will be next Tuesday. And then right after that, the next day is Wednesday, and that's Tim Weinman is building a bridge there. And on Wednesday, Joe Desmond will be doing his last show for the 2019 modeling season, as he likes to go on vacation with his family and do things other than model railroading. And he'll be doing his last show, and he'll have some special guests with him and do some wrap up on what he's been doing in the last couple of months and operations and stuff like that. It should be fun. I believe he'll have his friend Tony Bowen on with another guest as well. And then the next Thursday, this is a trifecta next week. You got Fine Scale Show on Tuesday. You got Joe Desmond on Wednesday. And then Thursday, you got Johnny's Train Talk Show. And Johnny, your host, will be back down at the general store. He'll be at the old checkers table. If you guys want to come in and, stuff like that, come on in, mosey on up, grab yourself a soda pop out of the cold pool there and sit down and let's talk trains again. And then the next week on the 22nd, who's Big Bill talking to? We're going to have Mr. Bill Baronic, the track planner, on, a.k.a. the track planner. And like I said earlier, it will not be anything about track planning, operations or anything like that. And the recent magazine of Modeler's Journal came out. And in that, he published an article about talking of what happens as we get older and we pass away. What happens to our layouts? And he has some really great insight on it. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And I think it's a good topic. Some people may see it as morbid, but it's an eventuality that's going to happen to all of us. And he talks about planning if you want to keep your layout and stuff like that. So I think it will be an interesting discussion. That will be on the 22nd. Again, I want to thank Tim Wayman for being on, Vanna Bob. It's always a pleasure having you guys. And Curtis Hunt and the CNL Railroad, Andy Crawford, and Joe. Don't forget a touch of
the brush.
Yeah, the brush.
Touch of the brush weathering. He does weathering, guys, so get in touch with him. He does weathering. It's pretty reasonable, and he's good at what he does. So he's looking to do something. Decaling as well and weathering and stuff like that. So look him up. Check him out. If you got a project for him to do, head it down his way. I just want to say thank you very much for you guys being out there and watching this. And without you watching and throwing some questions, we'd just be talking to dead air. So I'm Bill Graham. This is Johnny's Train Talk Show. You take care. God bless, and see you guys on the radio.
See you, Bill.
See you later.